And the
you are
number
now
is
live.
147?
157.
157. Okay. All right. Are we online now?
Yes.
You are live.
Okay. This is Senate Appropriations, and we're taking up H157. It's come to us from Economic Development because it had fees, registration fees. It's been reviewed by the Finance Committee, and that moved it favorably on a 7-0 vote. And we have here the reporter of the bill, Senator Clarkson. And I think we also have had the benefit of the fiscal note that lays out the registration fees provided in the bill, and that this is registration within the Office of Professional Regulation at the Secretary of State. So it's general fund is not involved. The fees are to pay for the cost of the registration and the administrative costs, and OPR has the ability to fund the cost until the fees start rolling in. So with that, I'm gonna, Senator Starr, before we have the presentation.
Aren't they aren't they gonna hire 2 people to look after this? So do they already have those positions, or do we have to create them, or what's the deal?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So there are 2 positions, and I think that do we have Stephanie? Are you on?
I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Does the bill create the positions?
I'm sorry, I don't know. I will have to check.
I know. So while she's doing that, Senator Clarkson, why don't you run through just the highlights of what this bill does?
Okay. Thank you, Allison Clarkson, Vice Chair of Senate Economic Development. As you know, this bill H157 is a consumer protection bill. It'll work to protect Vermonters from home improvement fraud through the registration of residential home contractors. This is the lightest touch. As you would remember, we went through this 2 years ago. This is the lightest touch registration. This is one of the top 10 complaints that we get in the Attorney General's Consumer Assistance Protection Program. We did a sunrise review 3 years ago in 2017, which resulted in a recommendation that they do the lightest touch registration, which is registration. To do this, however, as you will, just to remind you, the AG gets hundreds of complaints a year, resulting in millions of dollars of losses with our residents. And this work in the Secretary of State's office creates they need 2 new positions in OPR. One is an enforcement position, which is necessary because they're expecting additional enforcement actions, screening, investigations, and prosecutions. And they plan to add an attorney to their office who will assist with these enforcement actions. And the second is the licensing position, which is necessary because they're going to onboard. They're onboarding fairly slowly. It'll go active next April in 22. There'll be no penalties or anything until April of 23. But so the onboarding they're doing slowly for people as we educate. It gives us time to educate the community about this. But the licensing position is necessary because they need to onboard this profession, and they need to utilize and expand and be creative about their outreach. They're envisioning using multiple media outlets for this education and pop-ups and sign-ups and all sorts of stuff. This is necessary because this is currently an unregulated profession and is fairly varied throughout the state. So they need a licensing position and they need an enforcement position. They have the money to cover them until the fees start being generated in April of 23. So they are, I think the JFO did the fiscal note, as you've seen, And that analysis anticipated that the generated fees will cover the program, including these two positions by 2024. And the OPR special fund for the advisor pool can float the profession until that time, which is what the chair referred to earlier.
So my question is, does the bill actually have the language to create the positions in it?
Yes, it does. That's my, yes.
And why, if it isn't gonna
It
start,
does. It's creating two positions in the language.
Okay, well, you have, all right, yes, Senator Starr.
if it isn't gonna start until 23, why do they need an attorney early on? Why don't they use an attorney from the AG's office? He's got about 80 of them over there.
You would have to, my understanding is those are the positions they need. They're not going to, they'll be bringing them on during the course of this next year. And you would have to ask the director of OPR why the timing is important now. But that is my understanding. They can cover it, and they're ready.
Since they're fronting the money, I can't imagine they would hire something unnecessarily. I don't believe that I realize there's a lot of assistant attorney generals, but when you look at they're assigned to the various departments, and I don't believe OPR is one where we are using attorney general staff for that purpose.
Remember, as I said this morning with the OPR bill, they have the tribunal services. They have all this in-house at Secretary of State. So they're the ones wanting to front this cost before all the fees start coming in. So Bobby, I think that they have a sense of why they need that person sooner rather than later. And
other questions? And I don't believe that they have any assistant attorney generals at all assigned to OPR. I think this is a regulatory responsibility, and so I don't think that that this is an area where we have assigned assistant AGs, but I could be wrong. Yes, Alice.
Yeah, they just OPR can't cross-utilize attorney general attorneys, and they will get complaints as soon as we accept registration. So as soon as this is even being promoted and we're working on the education to get people to register, they're going to start getting complaints. So they're feeling they need to be fully staffed ASAP.
Alice, you had a comment or question?
I just want to, I don't have a question really. I guess I'm just concerned about this bill. It takes into too many very small contractors. I mean, a job that's $2,500 is nothing these days in terms of, if you want to build a fence, it's more than that. If you want to have your stoop done with, price of lumber has doubled or tripled in some cases. And so this amount of forcing somebody to go through this system is much too low an amount for many of these very small contractors who do very small jobs. And this is not an easy thing to be doing, because it says here, yes, the fees will be low right now, but after it gets up and running, and it says that right here in the fiscal note, that the fees are reduced during the initial biennial registration period to encourage participation, but they would go up, obviously, after the whole thing was up and running to meet whatever the need was. And I just think this is overboard in terms of who it encompasses. So I'm not supporting it.
Okay. Other comments? The fees are all set to cover the cost. It's so if they go up, then you're right. The fees would be reflective of but that's true for any of the regulated occupations. Senator Baruth, you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to give some support to the committee on this one. Going back to when I was on economic development, we were trying to work with contractors. It is the largest area of complaints, contracts that aren't written, people that aren't registered. Fraud moves in and out of that system very easily. So I'm glad that the committee has kept to it. And I take Alice's point. This draws in small jobs and small contractors, but that's a lot of what's out there. And a lot of where the complaints lie. So I'm very supportive of this.
Also,
Alice,
just
and then Senator Nitka, then Senator Ballin.
people who get into these situations can go after the person that's the contractor. And the fact is, they can even get legal fees in court for that kind of a thing. So, and that's been the case for a very long time. Maybe a lot of people don't choose to hire a lawyer, but if they did and they won, they could get legal fees.
Senator Ballin.
Yeah, so I just want to speak to this. This is something that I've been working on since Senator Ruth was with me, and even before then. The contractors that I hear from in my area are actually very supportive of this, because there's currently no way for contractors to learn about updates to laws, educational training opportunities, updates on code standards, and so they feel like they're playing on a ball field that is not level set. They're being underbid by people who are not up to code. And I just feel like it's not asking a lot for people to register. And I am of the mind that this has gone on too long. And these are a lot of complaints that we get about this.
Other comments or questions? Otherwise, yes, Senator Clarkson.
Just to go to the concern about the price, 61% of the AG's complaints are about jobs under $5,000. So it is the small jobs that are really driving a lot of this. And one of the challenges that we face is that it is home improvement fraud is already illegal. Alice is right. You can go, but the courts already enforce contractual obligations, but very few people go to court because civil litigation comes with an access cost that's too high for most people. And that while one can obtain a judgment, one often comes out behind financially. So it doesn't always work. People's
Other comments. So what we have is a bill that would create the two required positions that come with this requirement for registration. There's no funding request for the upfront or the ongoing. Obviously, there's discussion around what this bill does and the policy basis for it, which may make a difference in terms of how people feel. But unless there are further discussions around the funding and the fiscal pieces, would someone like to make a motion to move the bill favorably? All right, Senator Baruth. A second. Senator Ballin. Okay. So Senator Baruth, you want to call the roll, please?
Senator Ballin,
Yes.
Senator Baruth, yes. Senator Nitka,
No,
Senator Sears,
Yes.
Senator Starr,
No,
Senator Westman, Senator Westman, Senator Kitchell.
No.
Oh, there we go. Senator Kitchell.
Yes.
Okay, squeaker 4-3-0.
And who's the reporter? That's Secretary of State. I think that's Bobby, but he can't
Yeah.
report it because he's not voting. So Senator Baruth will do the reporter.
Jane, I know we need to get to the floor. I just had a quick question. I got a text from Senator Campion about S13, because that's the committee report is coming up. He wanted to make sure that everything was all set from your perspective on that. Just the waiting study.
Apparently the House added a little more money.
Oh, how much? Do you know?
I don't think it was a lot. I think it was per diems.
25K.
Stephanie, are you aware of it? 25K, is it?
We'll
To where?
account for it. I think it, I don't know if we are up to date on it, but we have a lump for other bills. So
Okay, all right,
I'm sure it'll.
all right. So that's, he's just alerting us, so we're not caught like I was before with an amendment that, the House amendment that carried a an appropriation.
That is what I'm gonna go run up to the floor right now about, Jane.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I think this is all we have for business today.